Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Joy of Travel. Today, the Emerald Isle, the land of the leprechaun. We are talking about Ireland. And joining me today, featuring one of my very favorite Irish tour suppliers is Royal Irish Tours and Orla Killeen. Can you get a more Irish name than that? Hello, Orla.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on, Joy.
Oh, no worries at all. So happy to have you. So the way I normally start these things is we just sort of touch base a little on what happened with Ireland and COVID. How are things going there today?
Yes, well, I'm very happy, first of all, that you got me today because Ireland has just started opening up as of today, which is the 10th of May. So it was a perfect day to have me on. So really for the past 5 months, Ireland has been in a full lockdown. So I'm here in Ontario, so we know what a full lockdown is. But over there, you couldn't go more than 5 kilometers from your house unless you were going to the shop or to like a medical appointment. So they were stopping people. There were police out stopping people, asking you where were you going. So it is very strict. So finally, as of today, they've eased the restrictions. You can go outside of your county, which is like huge. So the domestic tourism has started to happen and it's opening up. So hotels and B&Bs aren't open until the start of June, but it's all of the cultural attractions, all of the tourist attractions. So your museums and everything have opened. And as we all know, from last year was kind of like the trial run of how the tourist season was going to work.
Last summer, you mean? Yeah, right.
Exactly. From last summer, it was the start of how is this all going to work? Let's use the Irish people and the domestic tourism to see how it will pan out for international tourists. And it worked out.
Irish people.
But it worked out so well because, you know, there's times where we're planning trips and we tell people, you know, don't go into Dublin, into this particular attraction or go to the Cliffs of Mourne, whatever it is, on a Saturday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon because everybody is going to be there. So now we can tell people go online and book it. So I'm looking at the positives in it, where everything is pre-booked and your experience, you're not going to join a huge queue or be in a huge line once you get there. You have your slot. It's in and out. It's a very, very nice experience. And that's the one thing that we really know moving forward is going to be great. So a total of right now, there's 1.8 million people vaccinated, which is great. Total population of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland is 4.9 million.
So that's 25%. Good.
Exactly. So that would be first and second doses. So I think it's just around the 10% is fully vaccinated, but it's still moving forward. So it's great news. Yeah,
it is. You know, Ireland is, as I say, it's definitely on so many people's bucket list, you know, for sure. Now, Royal Irish Tours, as you briefly mentioned, you're actually based in Ontario as a Canadian company, but you have, as you say, a fantastic in-destination group of people that look after everything, right?
Exactly. So the thing with the story kind of behind Royal Irish Tours. So I am, as you say, here in Ontario. That's where our office is based. So our owner, Ian Duffy, is from Dublin originally, met a Canadian lady and moved to Canada, fell in love, the rest is history. But he set up Royal Irish Tours. It's our 21st year this year in business. So 2021 is our 21st in business, which is very exciting. But essentially, it's a family-run company. So he still works full-time, Ian, our owner. Connor is our managing director. His son, there's another son working in Dublin. Their daughter works here in reservations. And then the rest of us are either from Ireland or Scotland or have that like roots to Ireland or the UK. So when you call the office, you think you're in Ireland, but really we're all here in Canada. But we say, I'm pointing towards Ireland. We have an office in Ireland. So for that reason, like there's no point calling us if you arrive at the airport and there's something is wrong, you can't meet your driver or something. There's no point calling us. Of course it would be nice to, but you don't know what time of the day it is. So wouldn't it be nicer to have a number to call locally and then they can actually help you out? So that's the reason we have our office there. That's the first reason. Second reason is to be able to check every hotel is up to the standard that we want. It's very easy to say, oh, that looks good, everybody uses it, let's get it. But when we say that the hotel is in Dublin city centre, we know that it's in Dublin city centre. It's not
Yes.
out by the airport. It's not, it's County Dublin. So it's
Right.
great to have the office both here and over there as well to do all of our booking and everything for us.
Terrific. Now you've put together a lovely presentation. I've had a chance to look at it. So why don't we get it started for the viewers?
Great, perfect. So some of it has kind of overlapped slightly on what we've discussed.
That's cool.
So I will flick through the first two of them. So we did our COVID update. So just the last one on this particular page, or this particular part of the PowerPoint, is these two, the safety charger and then the we're good to go, which would be part of Northern Ireland. These are the two symbols that you will see on every attraction that you want to go to, every hotel that you're going to want to book. So this was a voluntary program signed up last year, organized by the government. So only hotels and attractions that we use have actually signed up for this. So it's just a bit of peace of mind that they're following the protocols that are set in place by the government. So this is our owner then on the left, that's Ian Duffy, and then his son is Connor there on the right, and then all of our Dublin office. So we've flown through that already. So I wanted to show this one first, Joy, because Ireland is such a small place, but it's so big that you can't see it all in a couple of days or a week. So that's kind of one of the biggest questions people ask us is how long should we spend there? So this is always a good one to pinpoint to you because it shows you the different tourist areas. So I have just outlined, there's essentially, well, there is 4, but on here I've just done 3 because those would be the largest. So the Causeway Coastal route, that's up in Northern Ireland, so from Belfast over to Derry. So if anybody is interested in Game of Thrones, that was all set up there. The Titanic Centre in Belfast will be very popular. So that would be Northern Ireland mostly, which is part of the UK. Then the second one is Ireland's Ancient East. So this does include Dublin, and that's just, full of history, loads and loads of castles, Waterford being the first town that was set up in Ireland by the Vikings. And then I'm biased because I'm from County Clare on the west. So I say Wild Atlantic Way is where you have to go at some point. So that's all down the west coast, and it's actually a 2,500 kilometre driving route. So all the way from Donegal on the top, all the way down to County Cork, where you can stop off at various different places. It's all, gorgeous sea cliffs, off the beaten track beaches, and loads of lovely small unique attractions, as well as fantastic food. Of course, being an island, seafood is kind of a staple part of everything that we do. So it's a really, really important part of Ireland. So when you're setting up a trip, if anyone is thinking of going, these would be the 3 areas that I would look at and then build from there. What are your interests? What do you like to do as a traveler when you're going somewhere? Because you can't just follow what someone else has done, because it might not necessarily be what you want. And that's what we're here for. We can create whatever it is that you need and use the expertise of Joy and myself, and then we can help you put it together.
No, it is wonderful. Royal Irish Tours, like it's more than, you do group tours, which, as you say, we'll touch on that later, but it is nice to know that you can take that, maybe a family that wants to do their own historic tour. They want to go back and sort of look at their ancestral land and stuff like that. So it's nice to know that you can piece it together, something completely unique to that particular family or requirement. So yes, why visit Ireland? The picture says it all.
Yes. So there are many different reasons, obviously, why people visit Ireland. For a lot of people, it's the people. So a lot of people have told us, and lots of words to people, that we're like a very friendly nation, and we are. So Céad Míle Fáilte, those 3 words up there, means 100,000 welcome. So you'll hear Fáilte everywhere you go. You'll go into a hotel, you'll go into a restaurant, they'll just say Fáilte, which means welcome. Everybody is just so friendly. I mean, if you're lost somewhere on the Wild Atlantic Way, you will have somebody who pulls up, rolls down the window and asks you, are you okay? Do you need some help? Do you need a direction? Because a lot of times the signs, well, they're in Irish and they're also in English, for one. Sometimes the spelling might be a little off. I wouldn't necessarily use Google Maps because there might be a back road or something. Because there's always something you could come across cheap on the road, and they might have to say, you better go the other direction or you'll be waiting an hour. So that's the thing. People are very, very friendly. They're very hospitable and very, very welcoming nation. So that's definitely something that people know. It's rare that they come across an Irish person who isn't very friendly and polite. Of course, the wonderful scenery. So as I mentioned, the wild Atlantic Way, you'll see scenes like this. So Ireland is kind of known for 40 shades of green. So the south,
green.
40 shades of green, and there is a song to go to it, yeah, for it as well. But the east side of Ireland is mostly the green and lush green and the sunny southeast, we call it.
Okay.
And then you have the west and the south are like quite like Scotland in that it's quite brown and it's got freshwater lakes. And obviously it's very, very mountainous as well. So there are 6 national parks in total in Ireland, all very, very different as well. So it really caters, you know, you can be in a city and head out an hour, less than an hour, and you're right in the countryside. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Some of the very, very famous places that people will certainly have heard of or seen somewhere in pictures. You've got the giant Causeway in Northern Ireland here on the left, and then the Killarney National Park on the right, which everybody wants to do. You know, the Ring of Kerry. These are things that you maybe have heard of before or seen a picture of and not too sure. Well, right. This is where they are, and this is how you can go and see them. So of course, after the people and the scenery, history and culture is huge. And like you mentioned, Joy, a lot of people are drawn to Ireland because of the ancestry route that they have. So I think there's over 5 million people in Canada who claim Irish ancestry, which is a huge amount. Yeah. You know, there's so much history there, and it's so vast, and it's actually very easy to find and trace your roots. That's the biggest thing that I can you know, advise to people is, I know it can be daunting, but there are so many places all over Ireland that will help you trace your roots. Do it in advance.
Yes.
And maybe go on your trip and you can have the discussion in person about the different documents that they have found. Yeah. But also castles. We have castles that date right back to the 11th century. Some of them are 5-star hotels, which is a lovely luxury experience. And then some of them, like this picture on the right, this is Kerr Castle. So this is restored and it's in County Tipperary. So you can take a tour and you know, see how these people live. But the open road is really just something that's absolutely spectacular. You know, you can really see an awful lot in Ireland. You can go by car, you can go by chauffeur drive as well. So this just kind of shows you the scenes that you will see. So it's really unspoiled beauty is the best way to describe it. Yeah. And everyone is very passionate about their country. And they just want you to experience it the best way that you can. You know, like a local, that's the thing. People will say, oh, go there very early in the morning, or park here, don't park there. You know, we've got all the hidden insiders that we love passing on to everybody.
The one thing, we'll get back to that open road though, is just, you know, that road looks so nice and easy to drive, but the reality of the self-drive in Ireland is those roads, especially along that Atlantic coast, can be really a little dicey. And as you mentioned, you know, the hazards, sheep being one of them. Sometimes that chauffeur is not a bad idea.
Not, and it's also, if 2 coaches are coming, so you don't need to worry. The coach drivers know what they're doing, but at times they might have to reverse. And if you're behind the coach and then sheep come into play, it can be a little difficult. So it's just something to bear in mind when you're planning a trip, that maybe I'll take the, you know, go for the luxury route rather than the stressful one.
Let somebody else do the driving on this one for sure.
Exactly. But food and music are a huge part of the culture in Ireland. So as I said, being a small island, everything is very, very fresh. But also the cattle are all grass pasture fed. So the meats are very tender, you know, ice cream and cheeses, they're just delicious. And also you can do different food tours. So if you were in a particular city or a particular town, you could do a food tour, which is a really nice add-on for any sort of a trip, if it was a coach tour or a driving holiday, to get that local flair of the food, because everywhere is a little different. You know, they all have their own speciality. And then music is a big, big part of our culture. You won't go into a pub without having some live music. A lot of times more than a lot of times, it's not their full-time job. They've come home after their 9 to 5, and they're just into, you know, have fun with everybody. A word you'll hear in Ireland, it's spelled, I'll spell it for you first before I pronounce it, is C-R-A-I-C, and it's pronounced, it's, what did you think it was?
Craig?
It's crack.
Oh,
So
crack.
crack means fun. It means fun in the Irish language.
Okay.
We do have our own language in Ireland. Everybody speaks English, but everybody knows Irish as well. So sport and crack. So, go in and have some music and fun, and you will hear that everywhere as well. So you needn't worry. It's not
So if somebody wants to take you out for crack, it's okay.
That's okay. That's totally fine. 100%.
Okay, good to know.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful. It's so enjoyable, and you're in a small little nook and cranny at a pub, and the fire is on, and there might be a dog, sitting down, relaxing as well. It's just a very, very calming, and it's a lovely, authentic experience. I mean, you couldn't write it. That's just the way we live. That's the way it is. We don't know any different as Irish people. And it's again the people and the welcoming and all of that, being hospitable. So castle and manor stays, a lot of people travel here for this reason. There are over 350 castles in Ireland alone, where you can stay, have a lovely 4-star experience, 5-star experience. They have spas, you can go for afternoon tea, explore the grounds. And again, they have loads and loads of activities. So it's something that if you were booking on a trip, I would recommend don't plan anything else for that day. Don't fill it up with loads of other attractions and things, because you want to be able to go in and have tea in the drawing room. You want to go, clay shooting or horse riding or golfing is a very big one as well. And there's lots of golf courses linked to them. So that would be my one tip when staying in a castle or manor, is to kind of make sure that you have enough time to explore the grounds and really take in that luxury experience.
And this is not something that you leave to say, yeah, we'll do that when we get there. Castle and manor stays absolutely must be booked in advance, correct?
Oh, everything must be booked in advance, but 100% this, 100% castle and a manor. People book these years and years in advance for weddings. They're very, very popular in Ireland. So I don't mean destination weddings. I mean everyone in Ireland wants to get married in a castle or a manor house. So you really need to plan ahead. It will be a little bit more expensive again than on the weekends, because of that for weddings. So I would be looking at, if you were doing an FIT or some sort of a self-drive, I would look at doing it maybe midweek, and it might be a little bit more quiet, and just definitely book in advance. No, I would not advise, and sometimes it's not even possible to book once you get there. It would need to be, you can see on the day where you want to go that day how you feel, but really you need to have your accommodations pre-booked.
I think so too. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. But there's loads of unique experiences in Ireland, and that's the thing. There are so many, whatever you're interested in, there are so many things that we can advise you to do, and to help you pre-book as well. That's another thing. So moving towards a non-COVID time, one thing that we've taken from it is everyone will pre-book. There are positives to that, of course. There's no queues, no lines, and it's just a more enjoyable experience. So this is a sheepdog trial, and it's down in the Killarney National Park. So they've used this for generations. You can imagine you don't want to be a farmer looking for his sheep through all of those mountains. So they have, invested in some lovely dogs that will go and retrieve the sheep for them. But it's lovely to hear and to see the relationship that they have. So this is something that is a must on your list as well.
Yeah, these are true working dogs. Yes.
Oh, true working dogs, exactly. And it's that workmanship that they have. They're really not pets.
No.
They'll tell you, you can't pet them because they're on a mission. That's their job, and they know what they're doing. So don't worry about them.
Yeah.
But local tours as well are very important. So if you're somebody who likes to do things independently, that's perfect. That's great. And you can see a lot of Ireland. But there are certain places that it might be nice to book a local tour. And a lot of people like that kind of add-on to have a tour of, let's say, Waterford City. You can have a walking tour. Same in Galway City, which was the city of culture last year in 2020. And they are very walkable places, but it's nice to have the insider information to tell you, the general history of a place if you were someone who didn't want to go by coach.
You take so much out of it. Honestly, when I travel independently a lot when I travel personally. And I always book some sort of a city tour or something. You just learn so much, whether it's a food tour, whether it's a historical tour, whether it's a literature tour. There's so much to take away. Any knowledge is not a bad thing, people.
Yeah, and it can be quite time consuming to either be reading before you get there, or also in museums as well. So it is nice to have everything pinpointed to you, and then okay, I've got an hour, 2 hours, of spare time. And I remember that my guide said here was a good place to go. So if you are planning and going, don't have everything regimented. You can have certain things regimented, but leave it open for something that might crop up.
Exactly.
With this food and drink, I did mention the food and drink tours. Really, we can fit one in anywhere. You can go to the cheese farm itself, to the goat's cheese farm. There are so many breweries, cider distilleries. This is one that's down in Ireland's ancient east. But of course, whiskey as well is a very, very popular one in Ireland.
Okay.
So then just a little bit about what makes us different. I mean, the first thing would have to be our staff. This gentleman has been with us since we started, so 21 years, Joe O'Connor. Has been with us, and they're very passionate about what they do. We really do take care of them, and they take care of you as well. People are writing letters back and forth still, but they do love what they do, and they really want to get to know you and make the experience as enjoyable as possible. So as well as the staff, as I've mentioned, the first class accommodation, you don't have to worry if it says Dublin, is it actually in the city centre? It is, and some other operators will say it's in Dublin, and it might not be. It might be an hour outside, which is hard. I mean, if you only have a couple of hours in the city, you want to be right there. You want to walk into the heart of Dublin City. So the locations are very important. If you want to be in a castle, you want to be in the middle of nowhere. So that's that's
100%.
the sort of,
You want something with grounds.
You do. You want to feel like this is my castle and there's nobody around. Where the locations are and the standard of them really kind of sets us apart. And then just in talking about the coach tours, we don't really believe in optionals. We like to have everything done and dusted and pre-booked in advance. So there aren't many optionals at all, the odd one or two. But we like to have, your breakfast is covered daily anyway, regardless of what tour you're doing on a coach or not. A number of evening meal dinners. And then your admissions to your attractions are also covered.
Always included. Yeah, that's terrific.
Yeah.
And now this is a must.
This is a must. If anybody is even, not too keen on whiskey, to see the whole process, the grounds are lovely. And it's just one of those things when you're in the destination, it's real Irish thing, and you can smell the peat, and you just know that it's grown here, and it's the whole experience of getting the whole tour as well. So I would highly recommend doing a whiskey tour, a little wee dram of whiskey wherever you go. You can fit it in. And then, so what's kind of new for 2021 and 2022? So those unique Royal experiences that I mentioned, those are unique to Royal Irish Tours. So we have been working a lot over the past year and a half throughout the pandemic to get those especially curated experiences just for your clients. So one that just comes into mind, that's a really unique one, is up at the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland. You do have whiskey on the rocks, so you can actually go down and have your whiskey there, rather than just going down to see the Giant's Causeway. You can stop off at different places and do that little bit more unique experience. So if that's what you're looking for, our team are just fantastic at suggesting different things that you can do, and it's not the old bog standard tour that you're doing.
Yeah.
So our on-tour support then, as I've mentioned, our office in Dublin are fantastic. They're there on the ground for you, but also our tour guides and our drivers, they're there with you 100% of the time. You can be rest assured that all of the safety protocols that the government calls for are there in place for us, and we'll be sure to update you as they change. But really smaller groups, we do have a flexible booking policy, and then FIT travel seems to be the way people are going.
A lot.
Yes,
I agree. A lot of people are, even with the smaller groups, people I find now are traveling, maybe 3 couples, and they want to do their own thing. And so it's nice to see that, mind you guys have always done the customized thing anyways,
yes.
But I think, as you say, it's going to become almost a bigger thing nowadays. People are going to want that really exclusive sort of experience.
Exactly, and that's it. That's why we put it in here. That's why I put it in as kind of new for that. That's the way people are thinking. And just as you said, it could be a small group. It just means that your clients come to you and say, okay, I want to do something, but I don't really see on their website what they have. that's fine. We can create exactly what you want. If it is an ancestry tour, if it's, you know, golfers, whatever it is, it can be completely customizable to you. So we've discussed a few of these, but really the different tour styles that we offer, as you can see, there is a variety. So no matter what sort of traveler you are, we're able to cater to your specific needs.
Right.
And a lot of times they change, and some people, you know, want to do a bit of this and a bit of that, and then you can. So essentially the breakdown of the escorted coach tours is the main part of what we do. So this would be with your driver and a guide. You go off for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Everything is pre-booked. You're picked up at the airport, dropped off, and everything in between is organized for you.
Right.
So a maximum of 34 guests. Some tours have 30, some tours have 26, and then our sightseeing tours have 16. So it depends on what number you want. Sometimes people will say to us, well, I have, you know, 8 friends and their husbands want to come. Perfect. You can take over one of these departure dates. So that's the kind of bubble travel comes in as well, which I'm sure everyone has kind of heard a lot of lately. And then rail tours, if people don't want to drive, don't want to go by a chauffeur driver, is a great rail system that you can use. But driving holidays and chauffeur drives are a very, very popular way to go, as Joy and I were discussing. Driving can be a little bit daunting for some people. So I would do some research with just some YouTube videos, and from that picture where you can see the road. And if it's something you think you're up for, go for it.
A sense of adventure and a sense of humor.
You do. And there aren't a lot of places to pull in, so you just need to be nice and patient and all of that.
Exactly.
But otherwise, go with the chauffeur drive option. You know, you can have 2, 3, 4, 6 people go, and they're also your guide. So that's kind of the insider information as well. They're not just drivers, they're 100% guides and very, very well trained and very well versed in the whole island of Ireland. So they'll be able to give some insider information for you. And then some of the other things we do are city stays, day tours, and then those custom groups as well, whether it's a chamber group in your area or if it's an ancestral group. So then I just wanted to show you kind of the main ideas for you. If you're thinking, okay, I want to go once and once only, where do I start? Because it can be quite, you know, a lot. Well, then I would highly recommend this trip. So this is called the Shamrock Royal, and it's a 14-night and a 15-day tour. So you really see from the map, you take in all of Ireland. The numbers you see are the number of nights that you stay in that area. So we try not to do too many one-nighters because it can be quite tiring packing and unpacking. But again, sometimes it's just that base for you and you continue on. So it's based on 34 guests, which is a lovely, handy number. But it essentially starts in Dublin, so you'd be picked up at the airport, and then you head up north, and then you go anti-clockwise around Ireland, and then back into Dublin. So you've 2 nights at the very end are in the city centre, and the first one is just at a lovely seaside town called Malahide. So it really gives you a nice idea into Ireland if you've only got a chance to go there once. And then maybe if you want to come again and it's your second time, then maybe look at the driving holiday or the chauffeur option. But if you're going first, I would highly recommend this one.
That's a great overview, a really good overview. Yeah,
it does. You can see an awful lot in 2 weeks, and we can send on the PDFs later on in the time if anybody is interested in it to kind of read the day to day. But I'll fly through it for today. But some of the stuff you will see, so the Titanic Centre in Belfast that I did mention earlier is a very big hotspot for people. So obviously you can go into the museum. It's a self-guided museum, so 9 different galleries to see, you know, from start to finish on the Titanic. Trace your roots if you do have, you know, ancestry that came out of Northern Ireland. This would be a good point to start at. And heading down the west side is the Cliffs of Moher. So this is very close to my home. I absolutely love it here. You can see it on the island, you can see it by boat. On this particular tour, you do see it on the island, but in another tour called the Irish Twist that we have, you actually go by boat, which you can just imagine how spectacular it would look if you actually saw it on the ocean. So this is, I highly recommend this on any trip as well. So moving over then as far as Waterford, you have the Dunbrody famine ship. So this is a replica of a ship that was actually originally built in Quebec, and it was used as a cargo ship between Canada and Ireland, and brought many, many immigrants back in back in 1845 for the famine in Ireland. So it's a really unique place to go and can be very moving for a lot of people who have ancestry.
Very tragic history for sure.
It is. And you'll hear it everywhere where you go. A lot of it's tragedy, but it's, you know, people have put a positive spin on it, that they can trace the roots back and find where their family member lived, and, you know, family members that they never knew they had. So it really is something spectacular. So moving on then, if you like the idea of the Shamrock Royal, but you're thinking, okay, I like the idea of castles, I want to be a little bit more luxurious, then I would pinpoint you towards this tour. It's called the Manor Royal. So it is a deluxe coach tour. So the main differences would be in your Shamrock Royal, you have 4-star accommodation. This one is 4.5 and 5-star. So where you see Roscommon on the map there with the 2, just right in the middle here, that's 2 nights in Kilronan Castle. So you do spend 2 nights in a castle there. In Northern Ireland, you stay at Culloden Estate, which is the best property in Northern Ireland. The Dunloe Killarney, which is a fabulous 5-star that we just added. And then in Kildare is the K Club. So if there's anybody who's golfers, you will certainly have heard of the K Club. And then the one here in Cong, it's the Lodge at Ashford Castle, which is
Ashford. Yes.
the nicest castle and the best property in all of Ireland. So you do stay at the lodge, but you do have access to the castle and to all of the experiences that you can have there. So I would recommend this one if you're looking for that little bit
for the higher, fewer guests, higher level of accommodations.
That's exactly it, Joy. So you've 11 days and 10 nights, but as you can see from the map, you do take in an awful lot. The few less days is that you don't actually stay in Dublin City overnight. So that would be the major difference. Some people like to add it on at the end, because once you arrive, you go straight up to Belfast. So it's at the very end, people might stay a couple of nights and maybe rent a car then at that point if they're feeling like they know the roads. But 26 guests is a lovely round number as well. Money.
Definitely.
So this is the Kilronan Castle that I mentioned, that you do have 2 nights in the castle. And you do have the dinners here as well. For obvious reasons, once you arrive there, you are really in the middle of nowhere. There isn't really much around you. So for that reason, it's nice to be able to experience that, you know, very, very high level of fine dining in the castle as well. And then this is just an example of one of the sightseeing tours that we have with your 16 guests. So it's only a 4-night and a 5-day tour. So it's just those kind of smaller off the beaten track. And you do go on that boat that I mentioned to go to the Cliffs of Moher. So it's just giving you a little taster of the type of tour options that we have. And there are so many options available in the brochure for you. But the driving holidays, so a lot of people are interested in these, and essentially we have lots of itineraries suggested. So don't worry, you don't have to take out the map and find it out yourself. We have them all based on a week, and we do base them on a manual car, so you can upgrade to automatic, no problem, go for 12 days, whatever it is. And the variety of accommodation really is endless for you.
And Ireland, do they drive on the right or the left?
Opposite to us in Canada, so the left.
The opposite, okay.
The opposite. But as I always say to people, and it's the same, it's kind of second nature once you get in the car, you yourself are by the line in the middle of the road, but not all the roads in Ireland have the line, so
I was gonna say, it's not that obvious, no.
Exactly. Don't come back and say, well, Orla said to follow the line, because it might not be there. So it's the other side, so it's a little bit more daunting. But you can see, like, there's so many ways to stay in some B&Bs, throw in a castle at the end, like just.
And this is what I always say to people. I said, you can customize the accommodation to whatever you want. We can do some B&Bs. We can throw in a castle. We can throw in a manor house, you know, and it's like, we can budget it depending on what your budget is. It's true. There's lots of flexibility here, but this is a self-drive. So it's a little different. You don't have the guide, you're expected to sort of know where you're going, that sort of thing.
Well, you are. We don't give you the itinerary. It's kind of like, you know what you're doing, off you go. Opposite spectrum then, of course, is your chauffeur driver, a really nice option to be able to link up with. And we do have some suggested itineraries as well. Porterage is included on that as well, so you really have nothing to worry about. But a private hire that we briefly mentioned, if you wanted to go here with a family trip, maybe it's the 50th anniversary. I'm going here for my granny's 90th birthday. That was supposed to happen last year. That's not happening until next year. But it's right in the middle of the Midlands, and you have everything to yourself. Your entire family is there. And if that's something that you're looking for, a destination, then there are so many of them all over the island as well. customize your trip. That's the biggest piece of information that I can advise to people. You know, we just want you to experience it the way that we enjoy it. And that's the reason that we offer some customizable, everything customizable, and some options that are there for someone who just wants to know what would work, what has been tried and tested. That's why the other ones are there. And then just the custom groups, some of the suggestions, you know, you can obviously reach out to Joy if you're thinking of putting together some sort of a group. We'd be more than happy to help you. And there are some discounts and things that are various to you. But I'll just put the last frequently asked questions up here for you and briefly run through them all. So the weather in Ireland is very mild. We don't get crazy snow. So any time of the year is lovely to go. Winter and spring and autumn is kind of like maybe 5 degrees. And then it gets up to about 18 and can go to the early teens, the odd time for a heat wave. So it's very mild. All seasons in one day is what we tell people.
True.
Bring your raincoat. You will see some rain, but it could shine 5 minutes later. So bring your layers. Best time to travel. There's so much going on every time of the year. So there's
all sorts of festivals, all sorts of, exactly.
Exactly. So many festivals. There are so many food tours. So any time that suits you will work. Currency for the southern portion of Ireland is euros. Northern Ireland is part of the UK, so that's the British pound. And then the cost of dinners and lunches, it's the same in Canada. It's going to cost you the same more or less with the exchange rate, so about 15 euros. And then on board the coach, you're on it for no more than 3 hours in the day, and that's spread out. And there's a lot of different stops. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, so true. We're talking about about a small area. So in Canadian standards, the driving time is not going to be that bad.
No, exactly. And that's throughout the whole day. So really, you know, you've lots of comfort stops in between to use the washroom and have a coffee and places to eat. So you'll be perfect. And then how many days, as I mentioned, if you want to go and you only have a week, pick either the north or the south. If you have 2 weeks, do the whole thing.
You can do it all.
Do the whole thing. But if you've only a week, then you really need to kind of pick between one or the other, unfortunately, and book it here. But that's all I have on my presentation. That's all. That is a wealth of information, hon. It was absolutely spectacular. That really, if anybody's thinking about Ireland, I mean, Orla's given us a ton of information. It's probably a lot to digest, but the thing to take away from this is that between myself and the great people at Royal Irish Tours, they can help you finesse whatever it is that you want to do. They'll give you constructive advice as to whether it's possible or not. And they can help you with budgets, and they can help you with itineraries, great suggestions as to things that you should include, those things that are maybe not worth it, that kind of thing. So highly recommend Royal Irish Tours for your Irish needs. Orla, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to be having you back again, I think next month sometime, and we're going to talk about Scotland as a destination because it is a completely different culture. But in the meantime, you have a great, safe week ahead of you. And to everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. And just remember, when it comes to Ireland, think Royal Irish Tours. Take care, everybody. Bye now.